You know, people often ask, what is Occupy Wall Street movement about? Well, it's about the bankers robbing us blind. That's exactly the kind of story we're going to cover today. Nomi Prins is with us, actually. She's a former managing director at Goldman Sachs, so her expertise here will be invaluable. But let me tell you what the story is first. It's actually about former CEO of Goldman Sachs, Cenk Paulson, who was also Treasury Secretary for George W. Bush. Well, it turns out, and Bloomberg News is reporting this, and they've done a terrific job with this over the last couple of days. On July 21st of 2008, Cenk Paulson was going and telling the whole world that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's books were being looked into, and don't worry, their examination would give a signal of confidence to the markets. But on the same exact day, he had put together a meeting at Eden Park Capital Management of 12 of the top hedge fund managers in the world. What he told them was a completely different story. He told them Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are in huge trouble. We are probably going to bring them into conservatorship, which means that we are going to do basically a government seizure of the firm. Well, that's a clear sign to any hedge fund manager that if you short that stock, you're probably going to make a lot of money because those people might not get paid off. In fact, first of all, William Black, who is a professor at University of Missouri, Kansas City, who was a former regulator during the S&L crisis, said, you just never, ever do that as a government regulator. Transmit non-public market information to market participants. There were no legitimate reasons for those disclosures. So no matter why you did it, it's a terrible idea because they're going to make money on it one way or another if they have information that no one else has. So what wound up happening? Well, 7 weeks later, in fact, those two firms were pushed into conservatorship, and their various classes of preferred shares lost upwards of 85% of their value. But while they were losing value, the people who had bet short on them gained a tremendous amount of money. And were there more bets after the meeting? Well, you be the judge. On July 9th, there were 86.3 million shares of short interest in those two companies, meaning people betting against the company. So 86.3 million. After the meeting on July 24th, there were 262 million shares of short interest in that company, bets against that company. Obviously a huge increase in the bets that went against that company. Gee, I wonder how they happened to know that the company was in bad shape. Maybe the Treasury Secretary telling them made a bit of a difference. So how did that affect the American taxpayer, by the way? The latest estimates is that by 2014, taxpayers will have put in at least $124 billion into Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So we lose $124 billion. Those top hedge fund managers make a killing. Why? They knew the Treasury Secretary. In fact, 5 of those guys in that meeting were Goldman Sachs alumni. So that leads to the question of why did he do it? Nomi Prins is here to help us answer that question. Nomi Prins is a senior fellow at Demos. She is the author of the book Black Tuesday, which we've talked to you about before. And she was, of course, managing director at Goldman Sachs. So what's the official reason that somebody like Cenk Paulson would say, well, I had to tell the richest guys in the world about what the government was going to do?
There's no good reason to tell those guys except to basically tip them off. I mean, that's what's going on here, because at the end of the day, when the government comes in and takes Fannie Mae and Freddie into conservatorship, it's not the government even, it's the Treasury Department. It was the Treasury Department that basically put $200 billion a couple days after that happened, which was on September 6th. September 8th, there's $200 billion that comes flying out of the Treasury Department into the process of taking over these companies. Several months later, there's another couple $100 billion. This is the Treasury Department. So it's not even like he was talking about the government. He was talking about himself.
Yeah, he's saying, I'm going to put the money in, right?
It's not the government over there. It's like me, the government, me, the Treasury Department, who's sitting here in front of you talking to you.
So, Nomi, what's the real reason he did it? I mean, there's 5 ex-Goldman guys there. He was head of Goldman from 99 to 2006. Is he just doing them an enormous solid?
I think honestly, it's part of that. The old habits die really hard. These guys, they spend years being together. They spend years being like each other. They go to the same schools. They hang out in the same golf clubs. They are each other. And I think he'd been in the Treasury Department at that point only, a year and a half. This is a way to sort of stay in touch. Who knows what's going to happen? Bush wasn't looking so good back then. Who knows where he's going to go? He has some material information that can help these guys out. You know what? the market knew Fannie and Freddie were in a bad position. The stock market for them was going down.
Right.
But to actually say, you know what, the government, i.e. me, is going to come in and take these guys over, that signifies a huge short, which you just explained also creates the volume for that short. And that's what he was doing. He was being his own self. These were his old guys. He was in a position where not only did he know this information, he was in control of executing this information.
Right. And Paulson, when he was CEO of Goldman Sachs, made about $500 to $600 million working with those guys. It's an interesting point you make. Look, he's the Treasury Secretary at that point. He sold off his Goldman stock and some Treasury bonds. But later, is he going to work with those guys again, make another $500 million? Maybe if he plays ball, right? I mean, there is no good reason to have done this. Now, as it turns out, if the guys acted on that insider information, it might be illegal for them. So some of them, including the guy who leaked it to Bloomberg, said, and his lawyer told him, immediately stop trading on Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Another guy held his position but did not add to it, worrying that it would be illegal. But it's not illegal for Hank Paulson, right? And isn't there a problem in that?
That's a definite problem. It's not illegal for Hank Paulson. It's not illegal for Congress people to know that there's information that they can affect, not even that they hear about. Insider information can be heard about. This is information that they can actually execute. And yes, him in the position of a public servant, of an appointed person in a situation where the economy is in crisis, to go and basically tell his old friends, hey, here's how you can score on it, should be illegal. It is not illegal. That is one of many big problems in the system.
Right. And Nomi, look, isn't this exactly what the Occupy Wall Street movement is about? Like, we feel like we're getting robbed. There's these secret meetings among the 1%. And this is it. This is the secret meeting. This is how we get robbed.
This is it. Think about it. I'm not saying, the guys out there had any stock holdings in Fannie or Freddie, but you know what? If they didn't go short, they would have lost a lot of money while these other guys were making money. So it's not even that there's two sets of conversations going on. There's an extraction of money from people who don't know and don't have control to the people that do know and get the information. And that's a big reason why Occupy Wall Street is where it is.
Exactly right. And people say like, oh, why don't you go get a job? It's not the point. The point is, why am I losing $124 billion and they're making billions because they've got the insider information? We're literally getting robbed by the 1%. That's the Occupy Wall Street complaint, and they're totally right about that.
And there's no better job than trying to point that out right now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Nomi Prins, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.